What's up, guys? Toxic B here, and tonight, well, this is the time of the recording, it's actually pretty late in the evening, so this is going to be very chill, but we're going to be ranking all 14 boss themes in Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Now, this is not to say that any of these themes are bad. In fact, they're all really fantastic. I would recommend giving all of them a listen, but I'm going to try to be as objective as possible when ranking these, like based on their composition quality, how good they are, how catchy they are. I think catchiness is probably going to be like my main factor with regards to how to rank these themes because, well, I'm not an expert at music. I am not at a music university, so I can't say I'm an expert when it comes to this sort of thing, but I think I know my way around this genre. Also, another thing to note before we begin, I would like to give a shout out to the composer who made this, Yuta Ogasawara, I believe, if I pronounced that correctly. So, he was introduced to Team Kirby like rather recently in Star Allies, and in this game, he is actually head sound. And based on the credit rolls that I found on the wiki, he arranged most of these boss themes, which is pretty spectacular. I think a lot of the iconic ones that came out in this game, which you'll see later, they were all composed by him. So kudos to Yuta. He did a fantastic job. All right, so let me explain the tiers before we get into this, of course. C tier basically means tracks that you can find in any standard video game these days. They're not amazing, but they're not bad. Like I said, all of these themes are pretty fantastic in their own right, but just some of them are just so good that they deserve to be in the next tier, which is excellent pieces. Excellent pieces. I can't really give you an example right now, but these are pieces with a very high composition quality. They're very complex themes that maybe aren't as catchy. I actually have quite a few examples here of some of the boss themes that were really good on paper, but in execution don't really come off as super catchy and memorable. Now, that reminds me, the A tier is catchy tunes, and basically the main factor for the tunes that go in here are that they are memorable. Maybe that their melodies are very easily recognizable, or they have a particular instrumentation that strikes the player. And I think the problem with most video game music nowadays is that like a lot of it is just ambient in the background, and people don't really remember them after playing the game. So songs that are in the A and the S tier are just that memorable that, let's say, like a non-Kirby fan who plays the game might even want to search it up online after they play through the game and encounter that boss theme. Which leads us to the final tier, Game of the Year worthy. Now, admittedly, Kirby has a lot of fantastic boss themes, but I think this game in particular, thanks to Yuta, has so many fantastic S tier tracks that I honestly, if Kirby doesn't get nominated for having one of the best soundtracks this year, I'd be surprised. So anyway, let's get into it. I'm not gonna. I could do this by order of appearance. I actually have the boss themes organized here by order of appearance, from left to right in the first lane and then the bottom lane. But I think I'll do it by tier ranking so it can be more interesting. So let's do C tier first. AAA tracks. I think the worst theme in the game is probably the Phantom boss theme. Wait, I forget the name of the theme right now. It's off the top of my head. I'll just flash it on the screen. Yeah, but basically this is the theme that plays when you fight the Phantom bosses in in Forgo Dreams. It's a pretty good theme. It's very intense. It really sets the mood that you're fighting much harder, much more evil versions of the Beast Pack, which is very interesting actually because it pays homage to Kirby Star Allies and the parallel bosses, because the parallel bosses and the illusory bosses are basically, they almost have the same lore behind them. It's very interesting. It's just that the parallel bosses come from the Jamba Heart, and the illusory bosses come from Forgo. But that's not important. What's important is the music, and music, it just isn't really there. It's good, but no one's gonna remember it. No one's gonna look it up later after they're done with the game. So it's gonna sit here in C tier. So the next one I'm gonna put here in C tier is gonna be this track, the Ultimate Cup C medley theme. I'm not entirely sure if this plays I think this might play during the entirety of the Ultimate Cup while you're fighting the bosses, but at the very least, it will play during the mini-boss medleys, like for example when you fight Gigant Edge and Florina, etc., but in the arena. Now, this one and its Z counterpart are both very phenomenal tracks, don't get me wrong, and I did pay a lot of attention to them. Like, I listened to the entire soundtrack, right? These two themes, as good as they are, I would once again I recommend you give them a listen. They just don't really stand out as much as the other tracks in this game, and so I really have to put this in C tier. Same with Ultimate Cup Z. So the difference between the Z and the standard Ultimate Cup themes is just like instrumentation, I think. But I think Z is better overall. Nah, yeah, pretty sure. Now we're gonna move on to the B. Oh wait, no, I forgot one. So the worst boss theme in the game has to be like Fecto Forgo's theme. It's like a I mean, this boss is really impressive because it's the very first chase scene boss in the Kirby series, and they executed it perfectly with how creepy Forgo is, obviously, and you running forward to try and escape its attacks. And the music was very good for it too in that context, but. In a vacuum, without this boss, the theme music is pretty bland. It's just like your standard escape music. It does have the leitmotifs of this game, which is pretty cool. If you pay close attention to this theme, you can hear the leitmotifs, but it's not something that I'm going to be using in my videos for the most part because it is pretty bland, like I said, and I doubt that you would want to listen to it either. So I think it might even go in the D tier, but it's not a bad track. It's just not something you want to listen to. So yeah, let's start with a B tier. Enough fuffling about. Let us begin. And for the first pick, I'm going to put versus Dangerous Beast. So this, of course, we first heard in the demo and the trailers of the game. And honestly, I love this theme. This theme is really good. I think it's right up there with Bouncing Boss Battle and... was it Haltman Executive? I forget the Robobot boss theme. And the Star Allies boss theme, it's on the same level as them. So this one is made by Hirokazu Ando. And for those of you who don't know, Hirokazu Ando is one of the boomers over at HAL Sound. He's an excellent composer, and I think he did a really good job with this one. The opening 4 seconds, so like the start of the song that sort of sets the tone, is probably the best out of all of these, if I'm being honest. Like this, it's my personal favorite. Although it sits here in the B tier for not necessarily being the most flashy boss theme. It doesn't really stand out. It's really good. It fits the mood of the Beast Pack, like this sort of mysterious vibe, while also being very intense and action-packed, as if we were like Tarzan swinging through the jungle. Maybe that just might be Gorimano's impression, but you know what I mean. It's a good piece, but. Yeah, thank you, Meteors. I will watch that later. So yeah, I'm gonna put it in B tier. It's an excellent piece. So C tier, you don't have to listen to it, but viewers, you have to listen to everything that I put in B and up. These are must listens. I think they're very excellent. I suggest you give them a try if you have free time. So next in the B tier, I'm gonna be putting Fecto Elfilis. And I think Fecto Elfilis is a really awesome final boss. I love what they did with this character. His design, is it their design, their music, their setting. Obviously, the stakes aren't as high as Void Terminator or previous. It's not even as high as like, the stakes aren't even as high as like Stardream, Maglor, Void, but this is definitely a really impactful boss. And one of the reasons for that is the impressive orchestral tune set up by Mr. Ando once again. You're gonna see a pattern here. I think all of Hirokazu Ando's work are gonna be in the B tier because like they're all so well done. They are so complex, especially Fecto Elfilis' theme. This is the most complex Kirby boss theme This is the most complex Kirby boss theme I think I've ever heard in the entire series. Correct me if I'm wrong, if there's something more complex. It's even more complex than like Shimmering Star from Void Terminator Suite, which is saying something. I also know that the transition from Phase 1 to Phase 2 of this theme, I separated Fecto Elfilis' theme into 2 parts. You'll see why later. The transition is very interesting. I saw a comment on a video, and apparently there are 14 different measures that are used to segue between Phase 1 and Phase 2 seamlessly, and that's so impressive from Ando to make such a genuinely beautiful composition. Very masterful. Now, the reason why it's in B and not in A is simply because it's not that catchy. As good as it is, it's not as memorable as the other pieces in this game. Now, to round out our B tier, we have the last track from Ando, which is Full Speed Farewell to the... Wait, is it Full Speed Farewell from the New World? Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's basically the name. I'll drop it on the screen like this. So this is the boss battle. It's not really a boss battle theme. It's more of like a final attack where Kirby, of course, uses Big Rig Mouth to take out Fecto Alphalus at the very end of the game. And it's a really good piece. At first, I didn't like it. It was kind of weird because it was just a remix of the Invincibility Candy theme. But essentially, it's a combination of the Invincibility Candy theme and the Welcome to the New World theme, or Alphalin's theme. They share the same lay motifs. Kirby characters share a lot of lay motifs. And I think the combination of the two of them in an 8-bit song by Ando, it's very complex, and I now, after having listened to it a couple of times, I think it's pretty good. Again, very similarly to A Dangerous Beast and Two Planets Approach the Roche limit, this theme just isn't catchy enough to get into A tier, but it is pretty good, and I would recommend you listen to it. Now, the previous final boss theme, the previous final attack theme from Kirby Star Allies, which was... I really forget these names, I apologize, but that goes in A tier, because that one was actually really catchy. Compared to this one, this one's good. Like, this one's actually, I think, definitely more complex than the Star Allies one, but it's just not as catchy. So now we're moving on to A tier. If you don't plan on listening to any of the tracks from B and C, what the hell are you doing? Start listening to them, but more importantly, you must listen to the tracks I put here in A, because they're that good. So let's start off A. So let's start off A with another one of Hirokazu Ando's works, the only one that's going to hit here in A. Funny story, the rest of these are just made by Yuta Ogasawara. I'm not joking. These are all made by the new composer. And like, they are fire. Except this one. This one was, I think Jun Ishikawa helped. You know, that's a sad story. Jun Ishikawa's getting really old. Like, I think he's in his 60s now. He's going to retire soon. And I'm going to talk about it more when I cover Roar of DDD, but that's later. So, yeah, Two Planets Approach the Roche Limit Phase 2, or how I like to call it, the core theme, since this plays, it only plays during the second part of the Chaos Alphalus fight when you fight the core. So I think this theme is much catchier than the first part. So what they do essentially is that, what Hirokazu Ando does is he takes this piece, he changes the pitch, he tunes the pitch up by like 1 or 2 steps. So like, let's say, Fecto Alphalus is like C, like a C minor, I think. It's like and then like Fecto Alphalus Phase 2 is like yeah. So that's like it's like 2 steps up, and because of that, it just sounds a lot better. And also because like it becomes a lot more electronic. It sounds a lot more like Void Terminus Phase 4 theme, which is pretty cool. But overall, it's really catchy, and I think a lot of people love this theme. In fact, I think people are going to get upset because I only put it in A and not in S, but guys, like, come on. The rest of the themes here are way better than this one, if we're being honest. But it is really catchy, and I recommend you give it a listen. Okay, so the next piece that's going in A is Masked DDD. Well, technically it's Fargo DDD. I think the name of the track is Masked and Wild DDD. Yeah, it's called Masked and Wild DDD because it's Forgo DDD, but he has the mask on. But anyway, yeah, it's a remix of the Masked DDD theme from Kirby Triple Deluxe in the instrumentation of Forgotten Land by Yuta Ogasawara. And like, I mean, what else is there to say? It's Masked DDD. It's such a classic. Now, the reason why I put it in A tier and not S tier is simply because it's too simplistic. It's literally just like what? It goes like it just goes over and over again for like a 20-second loop and then starts again. It's too simple to put in S tier, but for what it is, it's perfect for the setting since, you know, you're in a close quarter situation with King DDD. He's on his last leg, you're probably on your last leg too, and it's pretty intense. So as simple as it is, it's just so catchy. It is the perfect, intense rush boss theme, and that's why it sits here in the A tier. I really recommend you give a listen to this. And of course, the final thing in A tier, you will be surprised, is the mini boss theme, Thundering Beast Battle. It is surprisingly really, really good. Like, this one is so good. It's playing right now in the background, or at least I'll edit that in. It is such a fantastic piece. I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, I think also you can hear an old melody from one of the older Kirby mini boss themes playing under it as a secondary theme, and that's a cool little Easter egg. But I just really love the guitars put into it. Honestly, the mid boss theme does not deserve to be this good, and yet it is so good. And that's all I gotta say about it. So now we are in S tier, the very best tier, the best of the best. And as you can see, we have our 4 contenders. So, who is gonna come out on top? Well, like I said, I'm trying to be as objective as possible with this. We've seen pieces that are decent, but not standing out. We've seen pieces that are compositionally amazing, super complex, but not catchy. Now we've seen really catchy pieces, some of which are too simple, others are normal composition, and others of which are extremely complicated. So let's begin with the S tier, and for our first pick, I'm gonna go with my boy Leon's theme. Leon's theme is surprisingly very good in ways. It's really, really good. I think people are sleeping on Leon's theme. It is fantastic. I mean, it's basically if Kirby hired an orchestra to play in the game. The theme is surprisingly emotional for what it is, because you're fighting Leon, and eventually you realize he's actually being possessed. He's the king of the beasts. He's the final obstacle in your path for stopping the beast path. It's very good. Anyways, number 3 goes to Morpho Knight. Morpho Knight's theme in this game, beautiful. So let's do a bit of story time. So in the original Star Allies game, Morpho Knight's theme, it was decent, but I think it was pretty controversial. Some people really liked it, like me. I made a mashup of that if you want to listen to it. But other people didn't like it because the main melody was kind of quiet in comparison to this version, which is much better. The bass, though, was pretty good, and I'm sad because they sort of took out the bass in this version. Looks like my neighbors wants to go to bed, so I might have to cut this short and continue tomorrow. P out. Oh, this is P from post-recording. I actually forgot to mention why I put Morpho Knight's theme so high. So basically, the reason why it's in S tier is because it is a combination of the original Morpho Knight theme that we got in Star Allies. They took Yuta Ogasawara, I should say, because he's the one who arranged this specifically. He took out the bass that made the original so good, and what he did is that he made it metal and inserted the New World theme, which I think is really impressive. It sort of combines Morpho Knight from Star Allies, inserting him into the Forgotten Land perfectly. This song represents that, and because of the slower, more intense nature of the song, sort of lining up with the lore of the boss being this creature that we now know is extremely powerful. It just clicks. It really does. And it's also very catchy, of course. The original Morpho Knight theme was always catchy, just not as impactful as it is now, which is why I placed it in S tier. Alright, well, I decided to move a bit closer to my bed so I would not disturb my neighbor. I apologize, neighbor. So now we are in the top 2, as you can see. We have Sword of the Surviving Guardian and Roar of DDD. Now guys, I want you to put in the comments, who do you think is going to win this one? And why? Because I actually have an objective reason for why one of these is better than the other, and you'll see very soon. So leave a comment below, and good luck. Let's see if you're right. So, the number 2 spot goes to Sword of the Surviving Guardian. Not gonna lie, King of Beast Roars is my favorite piece in the game, but this one is so good. Like, Sword of the Surviving Guardian is everything a Kirby fan could have wanted out of a Meta Knight boss theme. Sword of the Surviving Guardian is perfect for a variety of reasons. And I think, while there are a lot to explain, and I'm not the biggest expert when it comes to music theory, the best one has to be the use of essentially all of Meta Knight's leitmotifs, actually, now that I think about it. So we have the bass, which is Meta Knight's original battle theme, which serves as like the bass in like some parts of it. I think the part that goes down, 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 down is a reference both to Meta Knight's fight team and like I think one of the boss approaching. No, yeah, it's the boss approaching theme from Return to Dreamland. Go figure. And of course, you have the beginning of the song, which sounds very similar to Kirby Star Allies' Meta Knight boss fight, which is pretty cool. Then you have a secret Kirby Fighters 2 leitmotif that plays in the bridge part of the song, which is really cool. And finally, of course, you have My Friend in the Setting Sun. It's a classic. It appears at the very end of the boss fight theme, and it's integrated. The way that all of these leitmotifs are interwoven together into like a 3 minute loop is just really good. It's very impressive. And aside from that, this boss theme, the theme itself, is it's fast, it's fast-paced, it's intense, and it works perfectly for the 2 boss fights that it plays in. One with normal Meta Knight in an arena filled with fans, and the other one against Phantom Meta Knight, which is, of course, actually, no, I mean, I think this boss theme works in both scenarios. It's good either way. I don't know if I'm showcasing how good these S tier themes are enough. I'm sorry. Once again, it's really late when I'm recording this, but guys, these S tier themes are like top tier. Like you won't honestly, they're on par with Megalovania, in my opinion. They're on par with like the Megalovanias of gaming, the Hollow Knight themes. You know what I'm saying? These are must watches. You absolutely have to listen to them. So this one's just called Morpho Knight. This one is the Raging Lion Roars, I think. Sword of the Surviving Guardian, and of course, the best track I don't know if it's the best track in the Forgotten Land, but the best boss theme in the Forgotten Land, and maybe even in the entire series, has to go to our King DDD. Roar of DDD, guys. It's just that good. Now, so for those of you who aren't entirely sure of this song's origins, in Kirby Star Allies, we got the latest version of King DDD's theme, which was called Macho of DDD. Because in that game, King DDD became like, he skipped leg day, essentially. But anyway, in the Star Allies theme, the composers Hirokazu Ando and Jun Ishikawa added a new opening verse to the, I don't know what it's called in music theory, but essentially they added like a third part to the song that plays in the beginning, and it goes like this. And so on. And in this version of the song, by Yuta Ogasawara and assisted by Jun Ishikawa, they retained this part of the song, which I really like, but they slowed the entire song down and made it metal. Oh my gosh, it sounds so good. And well, okay, yeah, sure, the Meta Knight theme did that as well. So what? It's slower and it's metal. What makes this one so special? Well, my friends, it's not called Roar of DDD for no reason. Shinya Kumazaki is the guy voicing these roars. And out of all the boss themes, I'm pretty sure Roar of DDD is the only one that has actual vocals in it. And because of that, it's just slightly on, it has the edge over all of these boss themes in S tier simply because of the vocals. And by the director of the Kirby games, no less. That is very impressive. So, what do you think of this tier list? I wanna know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Do you think that maybe this theme should go in the poopy tier? Do you think that Ultimate Dub-Z is actually good? You know, do you think Mask DDD should be an SSSSSSS tier? I don't know. You tell me. I had a lot of fun making this, and if you guys want me to make more tier lists about stuff relating to Kirby, leave ideas in the comments. I am interested in trying those out. So until then, I will see you next time.